The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall continue to follow all the days of this protracted experience of death. And I will dwell in the house of the most super intelligent power, source, and force of love and creation forever. What's happening? Benton here, live for the third time today. About an hour to deliver this load in Atlanta area. And for those following the saga, some of which has involved two deleted streams so far today. Maybe this one will. Maybe this one will make posterity, perhaps. Hard to say. Hard to say. I don't know how much recapping I want to do of today's saga, but it looks like, although I'm not exactly certain, but uh, had a load sent to my phone, one of these broker tracking apps. And this one, in order to sign up, I had to agree to give them my physical information, my physical movement information. Now, does that mean that telemetry and the phone is detecting my physicality? And I don't even know what that means. I'm not exactly sure what that's all about. But it looks like I'm getting loaded this evening. Probably sleep at the customer if that's allowed, or maybe find a side road somewhere nearby. Hang on, we found some pesky traffic that won't go fast, but they won't let us pass them so far. So maybe we can get around it in just a second. Without speeding too bad. Anyway. Looks like I'm going to pick up a load going to the Chicago area, which I assume means we'll no longer be with the company. Although, who knows? Maybe they want to give me an in-person talking to. I don't know. I'm in the dark. Maybe they'll tell me later. I've now been to a drop yard where the company rents some space for truck parking that I was previously unaware of. So I'm assuming that I'll be dropping the load Monday morning and then proceeding there, drop the equipment. I really don't know. What's next for Mr. Benson? Up in the air. Maybe I'll continue on with the job. Don't know. I think I'm going to let them pick. Dealer's choice. We will let the trucking company make those decisions. How about that? So the stream title, Traveling on Blessings. If my hunch is correct, that Monday will potentially be my last with this company and most likely my last in trucking, at least for the foreseeable future, because without getting too much into the details on this stream, the previously unblemished record is now blemished, and there's really nothing, there's no news really. You're not missing anything. I'm sure in the time to come, I'm certain that there will be descriptions of the event. But right now, it's probably better not to say too much. That's all right. And I do want to thank the listeners, especially the second stream today. That was helpful for sure. Talk some of that out. Process the emotions, right? And remember, heavy-heartedness heavy-heartedness is a violation because that's to affirm, a lack. That's to treat blessing as if it were a curse. The reality is trucking has nothing to offer. Yeah, Benton may temporarily have fuck me money, but that's dead, right? What I am is the way. What I am is the truth. What I am is the life. And again, I don't even know that it's appropriate to say that I enjoy preaching. It's something it certainly matches with my ridiculous accent, my comical manner, my comical over the top body language and presentment. And that's really my only recent thoughts that have seemed, somewhat alluring or exciting have been, tied up with thoughts of public preaching, perhaps. I'm already sort of strategizing. Again, who knows? For all I know, I'm going to continue on as a truck driver. I've been told that there's a dedicated account, that I would be moved to a dedicated account running from Memphis to Illinois. And for all I know, they're sending me to Illinois to start on that. I don't fucking know. They haven't told me. I haven't asked. Although what I heard in the company owner's voice when I talked to him certainly seems to indicate that we're probably done here, most likely. And my heart's not in it anymore. It's funny with my own ability, and some of this is a bit of a rehash from the earlier stream a couple of hours ago, but my own sort of propulsion, my own energies and all of those things. I don't know that fake it till you make it is quite proper terminology, but whatever that is, my ability to make myself do things, persist, right? And even though I quit the company 3 times, in some ways this is only even unwillingness to give up very easily. Or my whip, yeah, exactly. You know what I mean. So certainly thanks for gratitude, right? I don't know how appropriate or necessary gratitude is, but certainly gratitude for the blessings. And, what a blessing. And, the spiritual guidance and protection and to me, that's a major theme. You know, this has been a lot of truck driving, getting out relatively unscathed. You know, nobody was seriously injured, and equipment effectively undamaged. And part of the moving into the hotel, unfortunately, instead of serving, you know, my preference would have been for the company to come pick up the truck, or you know, have me go and take it to Chicago. Either way, but preferably have them come collect it while I was still in the hotel. Most likely, I would have just went ahead and rented a whole month just to sort of figure it out. But assuming that we're done on Monday, I'm thinking leave the vast majority of my belongings behind, because I've really been wanting to do that for quite some time. Sort of start fresh with a rucksack that I already have possession of. Probably probably get rid of the sleeping black bag and the blankets, because I don't know. I haven't exactly decided, but would I be getting on a flight to head to LA while I still have fuck me money? I don't know. Traveling around sleeping rough has certainly lost its luster. I've been just about everywhere by now, and I don't mean in trucking. I mean, 6 straight years traveling most of the country. You know, I haven't explored all of every state, but it's like, yeah, does one really need to go to every little town in Nebraska? I would say I've mostly been to everywhere that I would want to go to. Now, it is a time of year for sleeping outdoors in the South with a minimum of equipment. Probably just need a tarp and a mesh tent. Keep the bugs on. The bugs will be out soon. And they say this protracted experience of death is about relationships, and I'm not sure that's true. I keep hearing that. Um, I'm not sure that's true. I'm starting to think that relationships are as dead as anything else. I'm certainly open to debate on that, and I understand there's a contingent of people who will say, well, that, you know, sounds, we don't like how that sounds, or boy, that sounds bleak, or, you know, I'm not concerned with how it sounds. You know, it should be apparent that old Benton here is aims to get to the heart of the matter as much as possible. You know, I have found traveling around a way to do that, but then at times trucking has been a way to do that. Sort of, you know, there's been quite a lot of you know, revelation and unlocking of various, you know, truths, and you know, a lot has been accomplished while driving a truck. A lot of content has been made. A lot of nonsense has been made. It's been real, certainly, as they say. But I'm mostly over the truck driving. I do enjoy driving, even in spite of the foolishness of this early morning, whatever that was all about. And again, I'm not going to just dismissively chalk it up to everything happens for a reason necessarily. So I may or may not fly out to LA on Monday. And if I do that, I may or may not rent a room for a month and walk around LA as I enjoy doing. Um, I'm over especially the sleeping in a vehicle parked on the street. It wasn't nearly as bad as it sounds, certainly, but I'm just over it. I'm really over owning my own car at all. Um, I'm over the idea of working a job or working as a contractor and accruing tax liability. I'm over that, and I will be on. I must say that I do like money. However, I seem to be on the verge of you know seem to be on the verge of developing a different approach and attitude towards mammon or money. And I think mammon is kind of concept tied up in sort of money as master, right? This certainly seems like the path, and so much has occurred, especially since I would say pretty much ever since I hit about 10,000 in savings. Because I would say at this point, if I needed to keep some money just sort of as a fund, to kind of be able to operate, you never know, run into an opportunity to not that I would want to buy a fifth wheel trailer or whatever, but just money can be useful. So, and then now we get into the spiritual surrender aspects of trusting the process, the yin to the yang, right? And in a environment in which the Western cultures of everything achievable is only achievable through a yang energy, a masculine energy, assertion, aggression, dominance. And then of course what I would add on is man will dominate man unto man's own injury. Did Paul write that? Some of these concepts certainly need to be, and maybe revisiting some of my own study of scripture based on this new understanding, the recent John 14:26. The Comforter, the Holy Ghost, teaching all things and bringing unto remembrance. But yeah, and I sort of buried the lead there, which is, I've certainly been seeing the signs, strong, strong signs that the trucking thing is pretty much over. And, I can see now part of continuing to persist beyond, phenomenon after phenomenon after phenomenon that has been cropping up to, seemingly, ease me on up out of the industry. And, I do see this as some sort of intervention. Um, the spirit of what I am intervening in a way and saying, look, this is, the path forward within this dystopian delusory realm. While you're here, Benton, if you don't mind, the that indivisible force, the that you are one with, is just going to go ahead and work through you within the context of delusion. work further and in different ways, perhaps. And that's part of the fun is the surrender, the spiritual surrender to. I have no idea what that's going to look like and how that manifests. And so a big part of that is me trusting the process and sort of just making sure to stay out of my own way enough to allow it to unfold. Right. I'm looking forward to that if that's the way. But again, who knows? Maybe I'll still be working as a trucker. I don't even really know what they're doing to me at this point. The move seems to be to just sort of, you know, not throw myself on the mercy of the court, just kind of throw myself on the mercy of the company, which is, hey, I I'll let y'all tell me what it's going to be. I've expressed my opinions enough. I've expressed what I need to express, and just looking at this big rig that's exited the freeway and it's driving off towards the super center there, and it's just the size of that vehicle compared to it's just trucking is fucking crazy. A lot. It just complete fucking insanity much of the time. These absurdly, comically large trailers. There's another one on the overpass, and it's just been normalized, really, and it's fucking absurd. And I certainly, again, I just have no desire to be out here. I just the thrill is gone, man. Like I say, I enjoy, but then yeah, it's just I don't know, man. Pretty sure it's a wrap, but hilariously, for who knows, maybe I'll go right back to streaming every morning from the fucking driver's seat. I don't know, man. Hard to say. Hard to say. And one benefit of this is assuming this is the way she goes, then I should have time, Saturday after my shift or before depending on when I go to sleep. I'll have some time to start, uh, getting rid of certain items and choosing exactly what to take with me in the old rucksack. And it ain't going to be much. I've fantasized in the past about just kind of wandering off with effectively nothing, maybe a very, very, my bliss. If anybody knows what that is, where's your bliss, right? I don't know now, if people have listened for a long time, I've actually explained what that means in the past, but some version of a beggar's bowl in a way. Your plate and your knife, your plate and your fork, basically, or fork and spoon, whatever you're working with. So when the hippie meal is served, there's not necessarily plates, and the hippies probably aren't going to be into going to Wally World and buying paper plates and plastic and such, plastic utensils. So dinner served. Where is your bliss? We don't have plates and forks and knives and spoons for you. You can figure out what to do with the food. It's on offer. Socks and underwear. Well, hypothetically, I could just buy the underwear along the way, but definitely feel like I need my diabetes socks. I don't know at this point. Is it that necessary? The diabetes socks? I don't know. If I'm going to be walking around as much as I think I may be walking around, I might be able to get by with old regular socks. I've been known to mob around in some sandals without socks from time to time. I don't know if I want to do that to people. show them my toes. That probably ain't the way to go. Some may say, well, you could always put your things in storage, and it's like, yeah. Historically, I figured out at a certain point that doesn't really make sense unless there's something in the storage locker that's worth enough money that in a pinch could be sold to sort of, pay off the storage fees if necessary, or at least liquidate the value of some item enough to, you know, not lose the stuff, basically. Otherwise, it seems like just paying money for somebody else to eventually dispose of the item for you. So most of my things may end up in a truck stop dumpster, or next to it. Find a meth head, maybe. I don't know. Maybe pretty soon I don't know if I would want to live stream me preaching in the streets or not, or even how much of that would be appropriate. My preference, and again, it's not about my preference, would be to hopefully attract not followers of me, but to possibly attract some folks who are sincerely, have already embarked on some sort of path of advancement, spiritual seeking, if that's the proper framework. Be available to be sought. Have my counsel sought. But I'm not sure that's happening. And on some level, it's more likely to be a version of the mundanities of so-called life, the protracted experience of death, while occasionally receiving inspiration, preaching, inspired preaching, publicly, but not on any regular schedule. I don't know, man. Be interesting to see. LA certainly doesn't seem like the spot for that. It seems to be more of something tolerated and a mere amusement, although I could be wrong, perhaps. I actually did less of it after the unlocking and the achievement of true knowledge of self. And wonder, have we wrecked, or is it just bumper to bumper traffic all the way to Atlanta from here? I don't know. I was hoping to get there without needing another bathroom break. Okay, this is construction. I think I need to try to pull over, but these roadwork signs is going to be in my way if I try to pull over. Take a lead. I'm going to have to merge back into traffic. I think I can probably, after this sign up here, I can probably pull over, take a tinkle, and then get back into traffic. So bear with me. Appreciate a couple of y'all for hanging out. Although now that I've noted how many are here, that might cause one to leave. That happens sometimes. Maybe not. Maybe not. Taking it all in stride. Mr. Benton is. One moment. I'm on the marshmallow root extract and the slippery elm bark, and it does stimulate the old urine production. diuretic. And the fasting, the fasting that I put off. And I will say this: part of the reason I was considering renting when I was in Wisconsin that room for a month, part of that was I have way too much food that needs to be consumed. Although something's told me not to buy near as much canned food, so we're slowly but surely getting through some of this canned food. So, but I don't know if it's even worth at this point trying to get even a week in a motel, if not. And by the way, also within a month's time, I could certainly consume the majority of these nutritional supplements. I'm already going through in my mind if we do end up rucking, if we do end up ruck marching it, with probably the lightest load I've ever carried living that life. What exactly will I be bringing with me? All right, they let me ride over. Good instincts, Mr. Bent. Good instincts. Thank you, sir. And I think probably, my little butane stove, and I've got a little titanium, cup, 2 cup set, and I got a little titanium bowl. Not really big enough to do much of anything with. I have to bring my little pour over for the egg yolk drinks, my little coffee pour over deal, and some sort of mug. And I think that's about it. And I got a knife, I got a fork and a spoon and a can opener. And for supplements, I think we're looking at this Dr. Christopher's, helps me keep my bowels moving. What do they call that? Lower bowel formula. I got to unopen one of those. I'll probably carry that. Historically, the magnesium chloride has worked out. Going back to Cali, maybe so, DWS. Shout out to DWS. Quite possibly. Don't know yet. While we still got the fuck me money. Maybe. I'm going to resist the urge to second guess because there was 2 different routes to where I'm going, and they were about the same distance and time on the GPS. But the reality is, on a Friday afternoon, we're 100% going to catch traffic on both routes, and it's just kind of a roll of the dice. So 26 miles from the delivery, I don't know. Is this better than the other route would have been? I couldn't say. It's not looking so hot at the moment. And yeah. Then there's the footwear, because I do have these boots, and they're not necessarily designed for cold weather, but they're not the most breathable I've ever experienced. Oh, we're coming to a full stop. This is a bummer. Got a lane splitter. Make sure he sees us. So he feels okay coming through. Lane splitter on a motorcycle. He's trying to get around some trucks. I don't think they see him. Trying to get through 2 trucks. This was Cali, though, DWS. He'd have shot through there at about 30 miles an hour, but I don't know how much of that they see out here. He doesn't look that. He ain't that confident of a rider. And not a bike guy. I never have been. So you can just sort of tell who knows what the fuck they're doing, who's confident, who ain't. He's all right. Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Like I say, the heavy heartedness is the main thing I'm checking myself on. You know, if y'all have ever dealt with that yourselves, and I tend towards second guessing, although that's been less of a thing for me personally over the last however many years. And then again, I when I think about potentially getting off of this truck, uh, it's only it's only something I would look forward to. Although again, if for some reason that I'm just way off in my read of the situation, I'm resilient and hardened in a way enough to continue on. But at my age, man, we might as well call it a career. Not that it's a career, but might as well call it a job. A job done, right? Reminds me of a Seinfeld episode. Job done, if not well done. Although I'd say overall well done. Overall, in my estimation. Or semi got pulled all the way over into the not by the cops. There's a semi up there pulled all the way over like into the construction zone. Wonder what that's all about. That might be a big. That's probably causing the slowdown. I guess might have had a little minor wreck. You never know. And it's also it's something I've talked about. Yeah, two rigs pulled over. Must have been some kind of minor accident potentially. And I've spoken at times about the precarious nature of this job and the fact that you know it really is a day-to-day endeavor because any number of things could occur at any time to precipitate, my exit from the industry, perhaps permanently. And I know myself well enough that I'm not the type to try to just see who would be willing to hire me with a blemished record. And then there's been some in the past. There's been some talks with the company about how you know it's gotten ugly at times where they've talked about possibly fucking over my record on purpose, which I think was really more of a just, hey, don't start none, won't be none type of thing. Hmm. But yeah, it looks like possibly, if there is a mutual parting of the ways, then even if it's more on their part, and then see, we still have the possibility of the oil field, but then back to this idea of, I'm not, I'm pretty sure I'm never going to form a corporation, although I can't say for sure. And then, part of this job, a big part of me taking this job was that they were willing to pay me 1099 to my social security number. And, that's kind of a hard thing, can be difficult to find. And, uh, whatever the sum of money is going to be about in the short term, it's got to be for some kind of reason, although I don't know what. And hilariously, notions around my father sort of, my father still his, existing in his conscious mind in a time in which, 20K, that would be something a person could do something with as far as investments or, some sort of structure for the future. It's like, man, it's not. It's just with income, sure, somebody who has a regular income that's dependable could, if they wanted to, do something with 20K. For somebody like me living in a truck flying by the seat of his pants, it's fuck me money, and it's going to be gone, however long it lasts. And, I've sort of lost interest in even prolonging the utility of it. It just doesn't seem important. So really, the reality is it's poof into the wind, you know, more than anything else, scattered to the winds of illusory and illusory time. And that's okay. Oh, did I forget to charge my phone? I did. Sitting here this whole time. For some reason, in my mind, I thought I charged the phone, but I realize now that I never did. I still charged the other phone. That's what it was. So hang on, let's plug it in. Plug it in. I think I was waiting for 20%. I think we're down to about 25. So I definitely am looking forward to possibly getting off of the cell phone. Although I'm not sure I would entirely divorce myself from it. There is a huge. It is a little too useful in certain ways. And there was a point in my homeless vagabonding when I recognized that I was willing to give up at the time everything about a smartphone except Google Maps. It was just I recognized it was too good, it's too useful for what I was doing. I was just simply unwilling to. And I understand there may be alternatives. Uh-oh, did they crash? Some of these construction zones, they actually bring everybody to a dead stop, and then they wait, and then the cops lead the entire procession through the construction zones. And see, again, I'm not going to complain, but it seems like to me like it potentially would be foreseeable if this route has significantly more construction. Uh, this route has significantly more construction than to have somehow known that. But maybe there's just as much on the other route. Who the hell knows? All right, I just got sent a load there. Hang on, let me go check that real quick. Uh, but it certainly appeals to me a period of time of possibly. Although, man, again, the going place to place has just sort of lost its luster. So, we at least have the possibility of, up and down the Cali coast to some extent. I don't know, man. I think I'm just going to trust the process and go with the proverbial gut. I think actually what was going on is I was considering in the short term. Um, all right, hang on. They're sending me messages. Uh, Seems a little ambitious on the time frame for the pickup. See how that goes. Yeah, now I see where we're at. If I knew this was actually under construction, hang on. Oops, I've been yapping like a bozo. I don't know how long I've been gone. I've just been yapping like a bozo and didn't even realize that I never did switch back to the StreamYard screen from when I sent that last text. So there still says there's 4 people here. Maybe y'all can still hear me. Now we're down to 3. We're back. And I just stay in when it gets like this bumper to bumper stop and go, I just get in the right lane unless I have to, get forced to change lanes by the, exit only or the lane ending. 7.7 miles to my exit onto I-85, and then it's like about another 8 miles on 85. So yeah, be there about 2:30ish. I'm guessing. Could be worse. Uh, in the first place. No problem. Definitely a little bit of adrenal fatigue. It's funny when such an incident happens, I don't get an adrenaline dump, but then it's like I get it later for some reason. It's like a delayed. So after it was all said and done and I made it to the first drop, then I sort of had the energized, adrenaline rush. And later on, the little bit of a hangover. If y'all know what that feeling is like after after you get a good healthy. I don't know how healthy it is, but after you get a good adrenaline dump. Bet I sleep good tonight, depending on what time I get to go to sleep. Although if y'all know me, I'm going to want to hit the road early. I'll probably just let sleeping dogs lie if the company owner doesn't contact me, and I'll probably, assuming I manage to get loaded and go to sleep, I think I'll drive as close to 700 miles as possible. I think this whole run is only like 800. Not including the deadhead. So I got 2 days to go like 800 miles. I think I'll do as much of it as possible tomorrow, and then call him on Saturday and be like, "Yeah, what's up? What are we doing? It's not you, it's me." Or maybe let him. I don't know. Whatever version of that breakup has to happen potentially, or I think I'm just gonna be like, "Look, man, it's up to you at this point. I'm gonna let you call it. I know. No hard feelings either way. I've pretty well expressed whatever I need to express. And his own desire to make money off of, driving bent and forth as a beast of burden. If he's still got the stomach for it, I guess I'm your huckleberry and hopefully not anybody's hucklebearer, right? Yeah, I'll mostly be dealing with the heavy heartedness. There's a little bit of it under there. I've definitely had a pretty heavy dose earlier and managed to pull myself out of that funk pretty quick. A reframing and a proper identification. Proper identification makes heavy heartedness impossible, in my experience. I think I'll put most of that off until the morning. And it's something interesting I've experienced, and I'm probably not the only one. Going to sleep, waking up, and I typically get quite a bit of epiphany and inspiration and potential revelations in the morning time. The first hour, even laying in the bed trying to decide, whether one successfully goes back to sleep or maybe just lays there for another hour of physical rest. That can be a very fruitful time for receiving the tongue in cheek to call it receiving the download, right? Man, this road is fucked. I see why they're working on that prior section. What's my exit? 33? Okay, yeah, of course it is. To 85, which reduces to 13. But then they say, well, why not reduce it to 4 from there? Well, 13 is, we're told 13 has a meaning, right? So we'll just stop at 13. See how it works. Now that song DWS going back to Cali, isn't part of the lyrics? I don't think so. Or am I misremembering? Or is that going to be a Mandela? Right. I won't say my nerves are shot, but hormonally, this has not been a high testosterone day. Maybe the portion of the morning that you know prior to the incident, but it's not been a high. And it still had plenty of it rootin' tootin' at the delivery. But after that, I'm just not feeling it. Anyway, let me get out of here, and we're getting close enough to that delivery. And bye.